Yo, what's up everybody? Holding Ice with you here, bringing you Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba anime review. This is episode 19, titled Hino Kami. This was a very great, beautiful episode. Hands down, the best episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba. Probably the best episode of 2019. Hands down. I know a lot of people, including myself, was hyping up Vinland Saga, Fire Force, and Dr. Stone. But right now, according to this video, when this episode dropped, yo, this episode straight flames, pun intended. We get Tanjiro. He's continuing his fight with the Demon Spider Kid. And my prediction was right. He is actually one of the 12. He's the real 12. He's actually one of the lower members of the 12. I believe he was lower 5. So that makes him... I'm not sure how the number system go, but I guess that would make him stronger than the drum demon that Tanjiro took out. So, can I believe that one? He was 3 from the lower bracket. This one's 5. So this one should be like 2 points stronger than him. And it makes sense, because we see how much Tanjiro is struggling. But when it comes to that, what happened last time, that cliffhanger of the web cutting down on his sword and about to hit him. It did hit him, but he was able to somewhat dodge. So only hit like this side of his face got cut. It's a really bad cut. He's bleeding a lot. But he ends up taking that off, and he tries to go more in for the attack. And the spider guy, we don't get his name, so I'm gonna just keep calling him Spider Kid or Spider Guy. But the Demon Spider Guy or Kid, he summoned a whole bunch of threads, and he threw them at Tanjiro. And this was going to kill him. He stated this is, he's gonna die. But Nezuko comes out, and as you see one of my thumbnails, took the blow from him. Luckily she's a demon, so she has rejuvenation abilities, but she's still really badly hurt from this, and her rejuvenation abilities are not that good as other demons. And when the demon kid sees this, he freaks out, and he was like, I want this sisterly brotherly bond that y'all have. And then his sister was like, but you have me. And he was like, shut up. And he attacks her. And he wrecks like that whole area where he throws his spider web at, where she's standing. He wrecks that whole thing. And he was like, you're useless. You're nothing to me. And she starts to kind of cry. And he was like, if you want to make up for this and be useful, I can forgive you only one way. There's a whole bunch of humans down, in the entrance. Go kill all of them. Don't let none of them live. If you can do that, then I forgive you. So she starts running over there, holding her head and her own body, while crying, of course. And as this happens, he was like, hey boy, let's talk. And as you can tell from his dialogue, he's kind of like looking down on Tanjiro, of course. And Tanjiro was like, what do you want? He was like, I promise your safety if you hand over your sister to me. And Tanjiro was like, what, dude? Like, you really think I'm gonna do that? Like, you tripping? And like, this got him really upset, especially the next part where he says, saying, I want to make your sister my sister. Even if I have to abuse her a little bit or bang her up, she eventually will be on my side, thanks to the chakras of fear and terror. And this really upsets Tanjiro, and he was like, this is not what family bond is about, and how family relationships works. You got your whole misconstrued concept on this, and as long as your concept is messed up, you're not ever going to get what you desire. And this kind of pisses him off. So they both get like really upset, and both their mentality, how they treat their families and what they believe family to be, it's kind of colliding. So that's what's making them even more mad at each other. And Tanjiro believes that if he can go in and close the distance and just get a easy cut on the throat, he can be able to finish him. Unfortunately, the demon boy lets him cut him, but nothing happens. The blade just bounces off, and we find out that his body is even more powerful and more sturdier than his threads. And he ends up pimp slapping a couple of times Tanjiro and then kicking him away. And Tanjiro's like, damn, what can I do? And Nezuko tries to step in to save him, but he ends up putting her in like this weird spiderweb thing and hanging her upside down in the sky. And he ends up like tightening it, like to choke her out. And he's like, if you keep screaming and misbehaving, I'm going to leave you here. And if you continue, then I'm going to let you burn a little bit when the sun comes up. Which this irritates Tanjiro even more. So he ends up grabbing his arm and kind of like, he didn't break it, but you kind of heard like some crack and rough noises from him grabbing his own arm. And he's like, I need to control myself. I need to get a bigger breath and just control my emotions and my breathing. And once Tanjiro got a couple of seconds to kick that in, because, you know, the demon boy was worried about the sister and have her tangle up, he didn't realize that he gave Tanjiro enough time to build up his confidence and his breathing. And he starts to run at him with his technique. I believe it was called the 10 crucifix flex. It's basically the technique that we see in the opening. I think I'm pronouncing the name wrong, so forgive me. But it's basically the technique that we see in the opening where he summons that water dragon. The way the technique works is that he runs while spinning to build up momentum. And the more he spins and the more rotations he does with the force of the spin while running at you, the stronger this water dragon becomes. So, you know, but he's cutting through his threads finally. Tanjiro's happy, like, yeah, I'm finally going to be able to cut this guy down. Unfortunately, this guy gives us a surprise. He was like, do you really think this is my full power? And he activates his blood art. And his blood art basically allows him to put his demon blood into his strings, making him, like, instead of his strings being white, they're like blood crimson strings now, and they're even stronger than they were before. And he's able to entwine them around Tanjiro, and he's about to close them to, like, rip them apart. And Tanjiro states, wow, this is how I'm going to die. How pathetic. But then this is when we get Tanjiro's flashback. And this one, the episode takes the whole 360. In a good way, of course. We get to see Tanjiro's dad. I'm gonna probably put him in one of my thumbnails. But we see Tanjiro's dad, and he looks just like Tanjiro, but a little bit older. But we found out that he is sick and fragile, but we're not sure what he's sick from. But in the flashback, we see Tanjiro as a kid and his sister Nezuko as a kid. And of course, they're the two oldest. And they're doing this weird little dance, which is the name of the title. The Kami dance. And we found out that this dance is actually passed on from the head family down to the next generation. And Tanjiro learned the dance. And his earrings were passed down from his dad to him. Because as a kid, he didn't have the earrings. His dad had them. But as he got older and his dad, I guess, passed, he got them. So I guess this clarified that his father was dead. And as this happens, he remembers the dance that his father taught him. And this dance, they do every winter to ward off bad spirits and diseases. And Tanjiro decided to combine this dance with his water dance. And when he did this, his water dragon became a crimson flame dragon. And he ripped through the shreds, the spider shreds, like it was nothing. He shredded right through it. And the demon was like, whoa. And so he busted back. And he kept on going back and back. And he's trying to get, like, distance. So he's moving back or moving to the side so Tanjiro could, get off her balance. And at the same moment, Nezuko's hearing her mother's voice in her head saying, wake up, or you and your brother are both going to die. And she activated her blood art. And her blood art is kind of similar to the demon boy. She puts her blood into whatever she touched, and it explodes. So it's technically fire-based, the same as Nezuko. Same as Tanjiro. So she exploded the whole bunch of strings that were surrounding her, all the way up to the demon boy who they were connected to. And it caught him off guard, and it pushes him back. And at the same opportunity, Tanjiro went in for the cut. He went at his throat. And sadly, that's when the episode ends. Now, if you look at Tanjiro's blade, the blade is cut off, and he only has this much of his blade. And that's the part of that he hits the demon kid in the neck with. Unfortunately, if you look at the blade closely, thanks to the flames, the blade is kind of like, it looks like it's melting. So he's most likely going to be able to cut the throat with ease. But he's going to damage the blade further more, which means he's going to need a whole new blade. And he's going to need one that can actually not just contain his water breathing techniques, but his fire breathing techniques, since apparently he can also now use fire. Which that's cool, because now he's a dual between fire and water. So that's a cool little character twerk for his character, that progress in that design. And that Nezuko as well got a power up, and she can finally activate her blood demon art, which is explosions. So that's pretty cool, because now we have like a female Bakugo in this series. who's a half demon. So, but going back to that father, the errands, we know that errands passed on to Tanjiro, but we also know a couple of episodes back, Muzan told his guards to attack Tanjiro, and that he gave them a perfect description. But what he described the most and what pissed them off the most from his description was the errands. So I wonder if Tanjiro's family's dance, I wonder if that has anything to do and tie in with Muzan. Because we know Muzan was the first original human to become a demon. And thanks to him, he's the one who turns everyone into demons. And we know this is not a curse, it's considered an infection. This was stated by the demon doctor that Tanjiro was working for. So since Tanjiro's family's dance ward off bad spirits and diseases, is this the reason why Nezuko is partially not affected by the curse completely? And why her curse of becoming demonized is a lot different than all the other demons we saw so far? And why, even though she has demon abilities, she still cares for humans, and especially her brother, and she still has some of her mental stability there? So that needs to be clarified more. I believe that's why she's half protected. I guess you could say she has 50% resistance to demon curses, thanks to her family bloodline. And going into this family bloodline, is this just a family bloodline thing, or was this something that Tanjiro's father created on his own? He said it was passed down to him, and he wanted Tanjiro to pass it on to his kids. And if you look in the flashback when Tanjiro's father's laying down in bed, it looks like he has something similar to what Tanjiro's wearing. You know, Tanjiro has that green and black checkered cloak that he got from the demon corpse. His was, I believe, orange and black. So does this mean that Tanjiro's father was part of the demon corpse as well? Maybe his family is royalty of the demon corpse? How like in Bleach, you know, the 13 Court Guard squad, there's 4 royal family that lives in that society, who are also soldiers, high-level soldiers. So I wonder if Tanjiro's family is something similar to that, but in the demon corpse were. That's pretty interesting and dope to see. Also, we got some funny moments between Inazuki and Ginyu. Inazuki wanted to fight Ginyu because of how strong he was, and he wanted to prove that if he beats him, he's the strongest. But Ginyu was like, dude, you're not ready. You can't even tell how badly hurt you are. So he took some rope and tied him up. And Inazuki was like, whoa, how do you do this? You're so fast. And he's like, you need more practice. Just sit there and cover your wounds. And he just left them there, and it was hilarious. Then we have Shinobu. She took out like this weird syringe with some medicine, and she stuck it to Zenitsu, and as she's curing him, supposedly this is supposed to cure him, he's looking around and he notices that there's a whole bunch of ninjas. So I guess the demon corpse has ninjas and samurais working for them as well, which makes sense. This is feudal Japan, so those two things were common back then. But yeah, these ninjas are trying to save all the humans that they can that are in spider webs. So I guess they're also part of the demon corps since they're helping out. Or maybe this is another corporation besides the demon corps. Maybe there's different corporations besides the demon corps that hunts demons. Who knows? Or maybe this is like a side branch of it. But yeah, this was a really great episode. Love seeing the transformation from water dragon to fire dragon. That was awesome. Especially seeing not just Tanjiro's character development and backstory, but this also ties in his sister Nezuko, and we get to see her demon art activate, which her blood art was that explosion stuff. So that's kind of cool. Can't wait to see more of that. But that's all I have for you guys. Tell me what you like and didn't like about the episode. For those that are manga readers, with less spoilers possible, if I'm pronouncing any name wrong, let me know. Also let me know how many more of those 12 demons are out there, and what's the difference between lower halves and the lower 6, if there's any difference between them, cause I'm still getting confused with the power ranking of that. Another thing I want to know, what do you think is going to happen with the sword of Tanjiro, since his sword is broken? We know he's going to have to probably get a whole new sword. Also, don't forget, Inazuki, one of his swords is also completely broken as well, so he's going to have to get a new pair of dual wooden blades. But yeah, this was a great episode. I cannot wait for next week. This is episode 19 of Demon Slayer. So we should have like 5 left, because this is supposed to be a 24 episode, 1-course series. So hopefully when this ends, we get that season 2 announcement. I'm really am tempted to go look up the manga, but I'm going to try to stay away from that. But that's all I have for you. Peace out and have a good one.